All right, it looks like we are live on YouTube. Sarah, are we ready to go, Sarah?
And we are. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. This is the Library Facilities Financing Authority LFFA board meeting, and then immediately following the Library Joint Powers Authority LJPA board meeting for February 2nd, 2023.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And can we have a roll call, please?
Director Palacios.
Here.
Director Hoffaker.
Here.
Director Woodmansey, alternate for Jamie Goldstein, absent at this point. Director Lago.
Here, thank you. Are there any additional materials for our agenda today?
There are no additional materials.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to our agenda?
We have no additions or deletions to the agenda.
All right, so we will move into oral communication. This is the point of the meeting where any member of the audience may address the board on any matter either on or off the agenda that's within the board's jurisdiction. Are there any members of the audience who would like to address the board during this public comment period this morning?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
All right, we'll close public comment and move on to the library director's report. Director Wilburn.
Thank you, Chair Legault. For our library director's report, I've included that for your reading pleasure. A couple of just noteworthy items. Our Bransa 40 library, we continue to await glass, so that has delayed the opening again. We were hoping that we would have been able to do a walkthrough of the building for our punch walk. That has now been pushed back for a couple of weeks. And so my intent is to stop by the branch today, make sure what we can get done. Our IT department has begun doing some of the completion of the work they need to pull wire and install computers. So we're trying to do what we can do at this point. However, that is delayed. We're still hoping that we can get that opening completed in March. So it's looking more like the end of March, but that is our goal, is still to get Bransa 40 open by March. And with that, I conclude my report. I'm happy to take any questions that you all might have.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from board members? Are there any comments from the public on this item?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
All right, then we will move on to our consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar that anyone would like to pull, or are we ready to move forward with the consent calendar?
Would move approval. Second.
Motion by Huffaker, second by Palacios. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Palacios.
Here, present.
Director Hoffaker.
Aye.
Director Woodmansey, absent. Chair Lago.
Yes.
I was wondering if we were supposed to take public comment on that.
We can certainly ask, are there any members of the audience who would have a comment on anything on the consent calendar?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to general business. The first item of our general business, or I guess our only item of general business, is to elect a chair and vice chair for 2023. So it has been a pleasure to be the chair for the last year, and looking forward to passing the virtual gavel on to the new incoming chair. So I would open the floor for nominations for chair of the Library Facilities Financing Authority.
Chair Legault, just a quick comment on this item. The board previously did establish a rotation for the chair. And so we have attached that item in the packet. For the year of 2023, the chair would be the County of Santa Cruz, with the vice chair, the City of Capitola serving.
And Board Member Palacios, are you willing to take on that chair responsibility?
Yes.
Great. And we can always nominate Capitola, who is not here, to be vice chair. Okay, so in that case, can we I think we can do this in one motion to elect the Director Palacios as the chair for 2023 and Director Goldstein as the vice chair for 2023.
I guess I'm happy to make the motion so that Carlos doesn't have to nominate himself. But so I would move for Director Palacios to serve as chair for 2023 and Director Goldstein to serve as vice chair for the same year.
Second.
Great. All right, so we have a motion by Huffaker, second by Palacios, and can we have a roll call vote, please?
We have to
Director-
take public comment.
Oh, I'm
on
sorry, you're correct. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this item?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
Okay,
All right. Chair Palacios,
Yes.
Director Huffaker,
Yes.
Director Woodmansey, absent, Director Legault.
yes. All right,
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and take the gavel and we'll move on then to our next item, which is project updates and comments by board members. Are there any comments or updates? Okay, seeing none, that's just an information item. We'll move on to our next item, which is our next scheduled upcoming meeting, which is at 9 a.m. on May 4th at the Boulder Creek Branch Library. And just a reminder to everybody that the emergency declaration of the governor is ending on February 28th. So this will be going back to in-person meetings. Will there be a hybrid option for the public at that meeting, Director Wilburn?
Well, we are planning to record it. We have not worked out a hybrid meeting approach at this time. So it will be in person for the public as well as the board.
Okay. So it'll be in-person meeting at Boulder Creek Branch Library, and then hopefully in the future we'll have a hybrid option for the public so that they can attend more conveniently. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and adjourn the LFFA meeting.
And we are transitioning to the Library Joint Powers Authority Board meeting for February 2nd. Director Palacios or Chair Palacios, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Well, I'm not the chair yet.
Oh, you're not the chair of this one.
I still have another 30 seconds.
Oh, see, Chair. See, I knew what I was doing when I made the slides. All right. Chair Legault, would you like to call the LJPA meeting to order?
Chair Legault, I believe you're.
oh, maybe Sarah just unmuted me.
I did. I got you.
Okay, thank you. I'm unmuted now. Yeah, we'll call the Joint Powers Authority meeting to order, and can we have a roll call, please?
Director Palacios,
Here.
Director Huffaker,
Here.
Director Woodmansey, alternate for Jamie Goldstein, absent at this point, and Chair Legault.
Here, thank you. Are there any additional materials for our agenda today?
Chair Legault, there are no additional materials.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are no additions or deletions to the agenda.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is oral communications. So this is the point where any member of the audience may address the board on any matter either on or off the agenda that's within the board's jurisdiction. Are there any members of our audience who would like to address the Joint Powers Authority Board?
Chair Legault, I do not see any public comments.
Thank you. Then we will move on to the report by Library Director Wilburn.
Thank you, Chair Legault. My written report is included in your packet for your review. I will just take a moment to highlight a few key items from that report. We continue to be in the process of hiring staff. We are just finishing up some librarian recruitments. That's going to be really important for us to get a librarian back out to every branch. I've heard from our community members very loud and clear. They're really looking forward to that process happening so that children in their neighborhoods can walk in and develop that long-standing relationship with their local librarian in their community. So we're really excited about that and getting people started. We are preparing to begin our interviews for the branch manager positions. That's been a tough position for us to fill. It's a very customer service oriented job, as well as managing our teams at the branches. So beginning work on that. And then we are wrapping up on our library assistant 2 hiring. We have quite a long list of candidates on that list. As you can imagine, that is an entry-level position for us. And so we continue to work our way through the list with hiring staff. Many of the staff that are on that list are people who had previously worked for us as temporary staff, and they're now being hired into some of those regular benefited positions. So we're really excited to be able to offer those opportunities. One of the other things that I want to bring your attention to is that we've been able, since we've hired many of those new LA2s, to expand our hours. So hours expanded at the beginning of the year at Boulder Creek and Garfield. They're now both open on Mondays. So 6-day-a-week service, where previously they only had 5-day-a-week service. And then all branches are now opening at 10 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. So that gives the public a few more hours each week to be able to come to their library, utilize our services, and attend programs. So one of the final things that I want to just mention here is I don't see that Chair Bass has joined us today. Chair Lindsay Bass has served as a library commissioner, at least since I've been here, and for years before that, she was serving as our chair. She is going to be stepping off of our Library Advisory Commission when her term ends on April 23rd. And so we'll be looking forward to having Mike Termini serve as the new chair. But I just wanted to extend our appreciation for all of the great work that Chair Lindsay Bass provided on that committee. With that, I'll conclude my report. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you, Director Wilburn. Are there any questions from the board members? All right, I would like to just take a moment to welcome Chloe Woodmansee. She made it into the meeting this morning as the representative for Capitola on the board. So she is now with us, and
Hi.
have you here,
Sorry.
Director
Thank
Woodmansee.
you.
Great. Okay, are there any members of the public who would like to comment on Director Wilburn's report?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
Okay, well, that concludes the director's report, and we will move on to the report by the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. And Bruce, it's great to see you.
Good to see you, Molly. So thank you, outgoing Chair and members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today. I'm pleased to be able to report that the Friends had a very strong year in 2022. In terms of community support and in terms of fundraising, we exceeded our fundraising goals in every category, coming in at a total of a little over $350,000 against a target of $240,000. We also came in ahead of our goal for book sales, largely from our Capitola bookstore, but some of our branches now are starting to have ongoing book sales at the Scotts Valley and Felton, and we see that growing. Our goal was 73,000. Our total was about 128,000. So a very strong year financially. Of course, our number one goal outside of the area of fundraising was to see our ability to move forward on the downtown mixed-use facility, and we have accomplished that. We're very pleased with that. We know there are major steps to go through to get it to a shovel-ready situation, but we're pleased with where we are right now. I believe I mentioned last time I was with you that our primary fundraising theme for 2023 was going to be Recover and Thrive, looking at supporting students who, as you have heard just in the last few days and certainly over the last few weeks, really were negatively impacted, both in terms of their learning and their socialization by the closure of schools during COVID. Our goal for this campaign for 2023 is $50,000. We've received about 8,200 so far in January, including a generous gift of $7,000 from the Kaiser Permanente Foundation, for which we thank the foundation and Joe Foster in particular. Also, we expect in the next few days to receive a little over 26,000 from Santa Cruz Gives via this volunteer group. And that will put us at 33,000 or so, or about 2/3 of our annual goal at the end of the first month of the year. So we're quite pleased about that. We have issued our first funds for our fiscal year, which is of course offset from the library's fiscal year by 6 months, of $22,676 to support the purchase of laptops for the STEAM Foundation, our STEAM programs. I'm pleased to be able to do that. We will be, as a board, attending a strategic planning retreat this coming weekend, Saturday. We did one 3 years ago, and it's now time to kind of refresh the plans as we move forward. So many thanks to the Scotts Valley branch for hosting us. We had planned on being in Felton, but FEMA overruled us, as well they should. And so I wanted to thank Scotts Valley, the library, and Heather Pereira in particular. And then finally, I just wanted to invite you all, as we do every year. Our Community Reads program is underway. The book that was selected is Mary Coyne by Marissa Silver. Those of you who aren't familiar with it may remember the famous picture by the Depression-era photographer Dorothea Lange of a woman with her children. This book is a fictionalized account of those, of both the photographer and the subject of the photograph. The first couple events have happened. I know that I am starting to get phone calls from people asking if I have the power to get them in to events that have already sold out. And if any of you are on, no, I don't. So I know it's going to be a very popular program. I invite you to attend either live or online, any of the sessions you can. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me, which I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Any questions or comments from board members? I'll just say I'm very impressed with your fundraising efforts and all your contributions to the library. So thank you for all that hard work. It's impressive and it's appreciated.
Thanks, Molly.
Are there any comments from the public on the Friends of the Library report?
Chair Legault, I see no public comments.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the report by the Library Advisory Commission. And I believe that we won't have that report, as Director Wilburn indicated that Lindsay Bass is not with us today. Is that correct?
I am not seeing her here, so yes.
Okay. Then we will move on to the consent calendar. Are there any comments on the consent calendar? Any requests to pull an item from the consent calendar from the board? Are there any public comments regarding the consent calendar?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
All right, then I think we're ready for a motion regarding the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar for approval.
Second.
Moved by Palacios, second by Huffaker. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Hoffaker,
Yes.
Director Woodmansee,
Aye.
Director Lago.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. So next we move on to our general business, and this is the first item is to elect the chair and the vice chair for 2023. And following the pattern of the Library Facility Financing Authority, we have a rotation that is scheduled, and as we just completed with that meeting, the next in rotation is Director Palacios to be chair, and Director Goldstein, who's being represented by Woodmansee today, would be vice chair. So are there any comments from board members on this item?
No comments, but I'm happy to make a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Director Huffaker and a second by Director Palacios. Are there any public comments before we move to a vote?
Chair Legault, there are no public comments.
All right, then can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Hoffaker,
Yes.
Director Woodmansee,
Yes.
Director Lago.
Yes. All right, motion carries unanimously, and I will pass the virtual gavel to Chair Palacios.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And we'll move on to item B under general business, which is the presentation on the strategic plan, the final draft. The presentation will be made by Assistant Director Eric Howard. And I know that Director Wilburn, you may have some introductory comments.
Yes, thank you, Chair Palacios. This next report will be coming from our Assistant Director, Eric Howard. Eric has worked very hard on the strategic plan, even prior to my coming on board with Santa Cruz Public Libraries. He was in a lot of the early conversations that were held with the community and with staff, and really worked to put this plan together, completing outreach. And so I think we have now come down to some really great goals and objectives for our future, knowing that this plan is going to be iterative. And so as we progress through it, we recognize that there might be things that we'll adjust along the way. But I think we're really off to a good start now with this plan. So I'll turn this over to Assistant Director Howard.
Thank you, Director Wilburn, and good morning, board members. It has really been a team effort, and I feel very honored that we are so fortunate to have the library commissioners that we do, because they have taken on a very robust role in thinking through this process. There was a subcommittee. After we last visited with you and presented on it, we took it back to them, and then they had some really strong recommendations that we've honored in this latest version. And I want to thank them again for their thoughtfulness around it. So I'm going to jump into just a quick snapshot here of where we are.
Looks like Eric is having audio troubles.
He is still on the call, but we cannot hear him. So we'll give him just a second. It looks like
Are you able
Eric,
to?
are you able to hear us? Eric, if you're able to hear us, we cannot hear you. I'll try unmuting you. Eric? Maybe leave and come back. Probably the fastest way, if you
So,
can hear us.
Sarah, do you have the slides where you can advance them? I'm happy to
Oh, yes. And then Eric also said that he's going to join from a different connection.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to go on to the next slide. Perfect. So as Assistant Director Howard was going to give a brief overview kind of the process that we used, I will sort of jump in here until he's able to reconnect. So we began this strategic planning process. And again, as I said, this is prior to my arriving with Santa Cruz Public Libraries, but the library wanted to utilize the Harwood method and practice to facilitate conversations, which really challenged the library staff to look sort of outward to the community rather than just inward to what we thought. And so it is with that Harwood method and practice that there were meetings convened. I'm seeing that Eric is ready to join. So go ahead, Eric, I'll let you.
You were doing a wonderful job, but I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem. I was just going to say about Jane Light assisting with that process.
That would be great.
You want to take it from there?
Okay. So this was, as I mentioned, a real team effort. We recruited the former director of the San Jose Public Library. She's won Library of the Year twice, which is quite an accomplishment. It's something that's handed out by the American Library Association to libraries every year, but she's managed to win that twice in a row, or not in a row, but twice in her career. And she helped walk us through a number of exercises, both with the community and then also with the library. And we did use the Harwood method, which is essentially a way to talk to the community to find out what their aspirations are for the community, not just what their aspirations are for the library, because not everybody may understand what the potential of the library is. So rather than give them that bias, we have conversations with them to find out what is missing in Santa Cruz County that they are aspiring to develop. And then also what the assets are in Santa Cruz County as well, so we can build on those. Okay, if you could go to the next slide, please. These are the prioritized groups that we wanted to make sure we did not miss. And so we reached out to these groups. And in addition to these groups, we reached out to others as well. But before we jumped into this whole process, we wanted to be really careful that we were not missing critical groups inside our community. Okay, go to the next slide, please. So one of the comments and the feedback that we received from the Library Advisory Commission was a conversation that we started having early on about the mission and the vision statement. This is where we were or where we are right now until this final plan is approved by you. And we have, with the feedback that we received, both from the community, but also from the Library Advisory Commission, we have made some changes here. So we're going to go and show you what those changes are. There's one key word, though, before we flip over to the next slide, that I want you to focus on, and it's the word connect. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, please. So we're keeping that at the center, this idea of connection. But everything that we've gone through over the past few years really informed us that we needed to make some edits. So much of the challenges that we've gone through, both with the fires here in Santa Cruz, COVID, and then most recently the floods, really points us in this direction that we need to collaborate with not just inside our organization, but with our partners. So connection remains at the center, collaboration is also there now. And then another big piece of this that we've been going through this transition is to make sure that we have not just a more inclusive library, but a more inclusive community throughout the county. And then, oh, sorry, if you could go back, please. So we're not just trying to transform our community, we're trying to provide the tools for the community members so that they are empowered to transform their lives and then to strengthen our community. So our vision statement has also been it's still very similar to what it was before, but we've made it a little bit more precise in what we're trying to seek. Okay, now you can go to the next slide, please. When Jane Light worked with us, we ran an exercise for our staff at one of our in-service days to try to understand what their values are, what they bring to the table, and what they aspire our library to support. We also did similar exercises with the community, and they converged along these values that we've now listed here. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. So the plan remains in 3 different chapters. The very first chapter, and this points to that mission statement of inclusion, is a focus on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it has a number of goals and benchmarks that we are seeking to hit over the next 3 years. The second chapter was this large focus that we did on the community and what they are seeking from not just the library, but from the County of Santa Cruz. And that has a number of goals and strategies that we are seeking to pursue to help support those aspirations. The last one is more inward focused so that we can accomplish the first 2 more strategically. And it includes a shift that we just started in our last in-service with our librarians and branch managers, where we are bringing on an organization that has worked for some time with the American Library Association to really dig into the outcomes that we're trying to have in the community. So in the past, we've often measured outputs, how many books circulate, how many patrons come into our branches. But now we really want to understand, with the aspirations that the community has, are we really helping them to meet those aspirations? And as a result of this, we're also hoping over the course of the next 1.5 years to develop a dashboard to be more transparent about whether or not we are meeting those goals. Okay, you go to the next slide, please. So with that dashboard, what we've done differently in this plan than we've done in the past is we've incorporated our work plan into the objectives of the plan so that you can see it all at once. I'm not sure to, and I just, as an aside, to be fiscally responsible, the first time that you saw this plan, it had a graphic designer who worked on it, so it had a nice look. But since we've gone through the revisions to be fiscally responsible, we've left it in your packet as a Word document until we get final approval, and then we'll go back to the graphic designer. But there is a very user-friendly version of this, a draft version that we put on our public website. We've had up there now for a couple of weeks for the public to see. And I'm not sure, Sarah, if you can click on that website just so that we can show them. There it is. So you see on the left-hand side, and you can go to our public website and see the 3 chapters that I was just referring to. And if you click on that, perhaps if you click on the first one, which is diversity, you'll see the way it's laid out. And so you can see the goal for this chapter inside our strategic plan. And then when you click it on, you see the strategies. And then maybe if we do that for one more, we do library, thank you. And you can, these are the community strategies that we received. And then these are the objectives that I was referring to that used to be our work plan. So now the objectives are lined up with each of the strategies. And out of this, we'll create the dashboard to communicate back to those objectives to see where we are. Okay, thanks very much, Sarah. If you could go back to the slideshow. And I just wanted to say, of course, we'll have this so that we can check to see our progress, but we'll continue to provide reports to you when we meet, just like we have in the packet today. We have the quarterly report to show you where we are. And as an aside, Bruce mentioned that he's getting calls to see if people can slip into the programs even when they're filled. That's always a clear indicator to us that we're doing something right. Of course, when we have our programs bursting with wait lists. We know that we're still providing and continue to provide really excellent programs. That was the case just last week. It was Holocaust Remembrance Week, and we had a special program at Capitola. There were 50 people there, and we had a long wait list of patrons wanting to be in that program. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, please. Okay. And that is really the end of the presentation. And I want to thank you all again, too, for your input last time we met. And I am open to any questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the very good work you've done on this and the excellent presentation. I'll ask any board members if you have any comments or questions. Director Huffaker.
Thank you, Chair Palacios. Just a quick comment. I really appreciate the way that the plan expands measuring our success beyond just purely looking at the numbers, and really taking an intentional approach towards looking at outcomes and impact, and ensuring that we're delivering services that are relevant and accessible. So thank you for all the tremendous work. I know this has been a long journey, and I appreciate your leadership on it, Eric and Yolande. And all the community members involved.
Thank you. Director Legault.
Yeah, I would echo those thoughts, and also just appreciate that focus on outcomes. And it's often easier to measure widgets, but really looking at how we measure that impact, I think is the way that we all need to be looking at the services that we provide. And so appreciate you working on that, because it's not easy to do, and figure out how to measure that and how to have meaningful measurement. So looking forward to the dashboard and how you end up developing those metrics and the conversations that will spark in the community as well. So thank you.
Great. Okay, and I'll just add that I think it's very, very good, the work you've done on this. So congratulations to Assistant Director Howard and Director Wilburn and all of our staff and community members who have participated, and our Library Advisory Commission as well. I've been working really hard on this at the county level, as you're aware, and I know it's a lot of work. And so I really appreciate you've done excellent work on this. And I love the changes that were made too to the mission and vision. I thought they were very insightful. So great, and I'm looking forward to the dashboards. I think that's always a good way to keep ourselves on track. With that, if there's no other comments from directors, I'll open it to the public. Are there any public comments on this item?
Chair Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, so we'll bring it back for a motion to approve the 2022-2025 strategic plan.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have motion to approve from Director Legault, second by Director Huffaker. Roll call vote.
Chair Palacios,
Yes.
Director Huffaker,
Yes.
Director Woodmansey,
Yes.
Director Legault.
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go. Approved unanimously. Thank you very much, staff, for your work on this. We'll go ahead and move on then to our next agenda item, which is comments by board members. Do any board members have any updates or comments?
I just want to thank the library staff in Scotts Valley for jumping in to help the students who needed to be moved out of the YMCA camp up in the San Lorenzo Valley because of the storms, and they opened up the library and welcomed many kids in while we worked with County OES to get those kids back over the hill to their homes. And so the library was such a great resource for those kids to stop over in Scotts Valley while we continued to work on logistics. So thank you to the staff for that, and also for hosting the Leadership Santa Cruz Local Government Day. We had the morning here at Scotts Valley City Hall and the afternoon over at our beautiful Scotts Valley Library. So thank you for helping to coordinate and host that event as well.
Great. Any other comments? Yes, Director Woodmansee.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to also say thank you for including me today. I apologize for being late. And I work very closely with our museum curator here in Capitola, who has a wonderful partnership with the staff at the Capitola Library. So I just wanted to appreciate that vocally, because there's a really neat display case at our branch, and the local history connects with often like the theme of the month that the staff has presented at the library. And I walk there from work all the time. I love the Capitola branch. So thank you so much for that partnership. I appreciate it.
Great. Okay, seeing no other comments, this is not an action, just an informational item. We'll move on to scheduled upcoming meetings. Again, our meeting is at Boulder Creek on May 4th at 9 a.m. The Boulder Creek branch, and again, it will be in person. Any comments on written correspondence, board members? Nothing. We'll then move to adjourn to closed session. Are we going to stay on this link?
Chair Palacios, there was a separate email that went out.
There was a separate email. Okay.
Yes. So when we close this meeting, we can make
We'll
sure
go to-
everybody's online. Mhm.
We'll go to another link. Okay. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn to closed session. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on the other link.